love that track. It just came up in my Spotify a couple weeks ago, and I just can't get enough of it. Baleando de tu. Yes, we dance too. I'm so grateful to be here with y'all. Thank you for checking out this recording. Looking forward to sharing a little bit more about my experience with the retreat last week. So let me pull up my slides so we can get this started. As you know, we're here at the Manifesting Magic Mastermind Monday. We meet on the first and third Mondays of the month at 5:30 Pacific for some movement, some visualization and celebration. And on the second and fourth Monday of the month, we have the Inner Child Playground where we bring in more movement and also some creativity and imagination as we connect with our inner child through playful, fun, loving ways. And today's quote: when you allow yourself to drop the old stories of judgment, criticism, lack, limitation, fear, doubt, and disbelief, you allow yourself to open up to even greater possibilities than you could have ever imagined. You are worthy of the best. And this quote comes from me today. This is a little bit about the story that I'm going to share with the retreat that I hosted here in Bali last week. And yeah, it felt like it was about time for me to share a little bit of my own wisdom with the quote of the day. So I am your host, Maria Scarpello. I'm an empowerment mindset coach with my business, Transformational Shifts. I love talking about manifestation, human design, plant medicine integration, somatic trauma integration, so many things with the 5D ascension and the new earth that we are here co creating together. All of those things light me up. And I love working with clients on all of those topics. So, the purpose of tonight's call is to leverage the power of the mastermind to speak the manifestations we desire into existence, utilizing the laws of attraction, best practices, and to support like minded masters in their manifestations. If you aren't familiar with the laws of attraction, we do have a recording a couple months back that goes into that more in depth so that we can learn more about what those best practices are. In all of the containers I host, I love to bring in agreements to unify the collective and what we are co creating together. So, in this container, we agree to celebrate and be inspired by others' manifestations as you share your own. It's so important that we share what we are looking to manifest in the world so that others can hold that vision alongside of us. So, that's going to be a little bit more about the story that I'm going to share today and some of the lessons that I learned with the retreat I hosted. We agree to be present to our best degree possible and allow that to be good enough for today. We agree practice feeling what we desire as if we already have it and hold the vision of others' manifestations in the same light. So if you hear someone talking about something that they want to create, it supports them when you can envision them as already having it, or even encouraging them to share more about what it is that they would really feel like once they have that manifestation. Sometimes people will stop short and say, "Oh, I'm manifesting a new home." Okay, great. Give me qualities of the new home. Tell me how you feel when you're in this new home. Like when you wake up in the morning in your new home, how does your day play out in this new home? Like walk me through the space. Really allow them to fully lean into that visualization and yourself, so that you can fully um, create that reality right in front of you, all within your mind's eye. Number three, we agree to release any old stories or beliefs that may keep us from the manifestations we desire, including any standards of perfectionism or how we think things should happen. Nice piggyback to the quote that I offered to the group today. And number four, we agree to participate to your preferred level of comfort, allowing space for all who wished to share to do so, and allowing yourself the opportunity to do the same. For those of you catching the recording, I encourage you to jump into our Transformational Shift Signal group. Love to receive shares there as well. All right, so a little bit about participation. What is it? A couple of ideas here: sharing in chat, or like I just mentioned, in Signal when prompted to do so, celebrating other people's shares through chats and reactions, speaking your desires into existence using the present tense as if you already have it. This is key. This is why I stress this every time we meet, because it's so important and so key to leverage the power of I am is the most two powerful words that you can use in the English language. Finally, specifically asking for support or resources when desired. I love this one. One of my favorite things to do is to hold visions for others in manifestations that they're creating. And I also do the same. Like I ask others in the groups that I'm in with the powerful manifestators. I say, hey, this is what I'm aiming to create. This is the vision that I have. Please hold this vision with me. And people are always like, fuck yeah, I see you doing that. So it's really powerful to leverage that power of the mastermind and asking for that support. A little bit about what we like to avoid when it comes to participation. Ideally, we're not giving input to others when not asked. One way that I love to approach this is asking someone if they're open to a reflection or feedback based on what they said, because then you know that they're in a receptive state by them either saying yes, or if they say no, then that's fine. I can continue to hold what I have within me and allow them to hold what they have within them. Ideally, we're not sharing anyone else's experience other than our own. We can talk about our own experience from our own perspective, but sometimes if we're bringing in other people's perspectives, it can get a little, how do I say, leaky with the energy. And ideally, we're not participating at all. But if you're watching this recording, then that is a form of participation. So thank you for catching up. All right, so this is the part of the call where we bring in celebration and how we've been incorporating intentional manifestations in our life. And this actually just leads me right into what I'll be talking about today. So I'm going to put a little pause on that and celebrate with y'all after we dive into the final day of Libra season, which is today. Tomorrow we move into Scorpio season. So this Libra season has been so potent and powerful, y'all. We had the Aries full moon last week, which was just, I mean, incredibly active. And we've been in this wormhole passage since the beginning of September. So this is where we have the two eclipses, right? And any time we have an eclipse, everything is amplified. Just like when we have a full moon, the full moon is amplifying. It is reflecting back to us the power, the light of the sun, which has also been incredibly active, y'all. We've had the strongest X class flares that we've had since the 60s. And, many people believe that when the sun is emitting the energy that it's sending to the planet, it's sending new light code frequencies for greater expansion. So, how does this impact us? Well, there's a number of different ways that it can impact us. Physically, first of all, maybe disruptions in sleep patterns. For example, not getting enough sleep, having trouble sleeping, or the opposite. It can sometimes impact people where they're just so tired they can't feel like they can't get enough sleep. For the earth, there's also impacts. We've seen some of the most catastrophic flooding, weather patterns, and also earthquakes have been quite active lately, which is all to be expected, especially with the aspects that we have with Uranus, which is the planet of shakeups. So when we think about, the time period, at least in the United States in the 60s, that was a major revolutionary point. And we will be experiencing more of the same coming this rest of this month and into November as the wormhole passage closes on November 1st. So just because we have these moments of eclipses and full moon doesn't mean that it's just that day, that the energy is limited to just that day. It actually expands quite farther in both in front and after those times. So we are still very much in this energy, and the qualities of the Libra season were amplified in this. So there was definitely a focus in balance, harmony, and beauty, or perhaps where those things are lacking, the light was shown upon them, right? So we definitely had a spotlight on relationships, connections, partnerships. Themes of fairness, justice, and equality have been very present all around the globe. Ideally, we are holding this energy of decision making with fairness in a more positive light. The more that we focus on decision making not being fair, because we know how good we are at manifestation, what do we know the outcome of that's going to be? Right? So this is really an opportunity and an invitation to every single person to step into your power, to step into the ability that we have to co-create this new earth that's already underway. And and when I say staying in the power, I mean staying in alignment with that which we want to create, not that which we don't want to have anymore. So the more we can align that all decisions that we make all across the globe are made with fairness, with justice, with equality, the more likely we're going to get to that timeline, which is already underway. So where's the shadow here in the Libra season? The dark side of these things, if we're thinking about fairness or equality, the opposite of, with the shadow could be people pleasing. Where are we giving up our power in order to keep things um, in a place of, well, what we think would be balance and harmony? But if we're giving up our power, there's actually not balance or harmony in that, right? So if we're trying to avoid conflict, we're actually minimizing the self by not speaking our truth, perhaps. And maybe you even stuck in this pattern of overthinking or indecision. So, just a really good opportunity to take a moment to pause and reflect on this past month of Libra season and how did these themes possibly show up for you or around you and in the world around us? And where can we start to take the lessons of the opportunity for us to step even greater into our power? As we move into Scorpio season tomorrow, there's just so many potent aspects that are at play, but this is really an important time of transformation and rebirth. You know, really, when we think of in the northern hemisphere, moving into fall, themes of shedding, themes of release, right? So, where are these old layers that are no longer here serving us, asking to fall away? Um, how can I lean in even more to the deep emotional healing with support? Oftentimes we think we're on this journey alone, and it doesn't have to be so. And so, anytime I'm feeling challenged more than what my own tools and resources are capable of supporting, I reach out. I have so many incredible facilitators that I reach out to, and I set up a session. And I'm also available for that. I love working with people in that way. Especially knowing with Scorpio season, there's some intensity there. There's a lot of depth, right? So this is not a surface level season. We're going to experience heightened emotions, perhaps more intensity in relationships or communication. And it's really going to ask us to do some self reflection. And just because it's asking us to do self reflection doesn't mean we have to do it by ourselves. There are going to be massive themes of power and control. So how can we provide more personal empowerment for ourselves when the world around us feels chaotic, right? Because if we see the world around us as chaotic, that can put us in a state of powerlessness, right? Back to this theme. How can we step into our power even greater? And right now, every single person that I know that's tuned in to the energies and frequencies of the planets reminding us how important it is to go within, tuning out the bullshit, tuning into the good shit. This is what I'm gonna say. There's also like, if you like Halloween season, there's like a spooky theme that the Scorpio energy can bring, but really it's not spooky as in scary. It's like there's mystery, there's unveiling of hidden truths, perhaps, or exploring the unconscious shadow side of ourselves and embracing that, right? Came across an interview with Lady Gaga, of all people, a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how you can't fully be in the light without shadow. The more fully we step into the light, like we are going to reveal the shadows. And it's not a bad thing. It's something for us to embrace and to explore. Because the more that we embrace and integrate the shadows, the more fully we can be in the light. So, a little bit of astrology to get the mind bubbling, but let's flip back to my slides here quick so we can get into some story time, shall we? And I'm going to go ahead and stop the share actually right now so I can connect. As most of you know, I am here in Bali. Today is actually Tuesday, it's no longer Monday. And I spent the last week at the Basundari Retreat Center here in Ubud, which is the center part of the island. I love it. It's October 22nd here, and my computer battery is at 22% currently. Gotta notice those synchronicities and rejoice when they come up. There's power in numbers and patterns that the universe is sending us. So anyway, back on track to my story. Had an opportunity to really step into my power as a manifester, and it honestly came in ways that I didn't expect, which is perfect for manifestation and lessons in manifestation. Because if I was to hold tightly on to the manifestations and how I expected it to play out, I would have struggled a lot more with all of this. So I'll just kind of rewind back to how this all started. I previously was a co owner of a retreat center down in Costa Rica. We took ownership in August of 2022. And I loved the vision and the mission of this opportunity, which was to really provide a safe space for transformational healing. In Costa Rica, it is legal to host medicine ceremonies as long as it's indigenously held. So I first had an introduction into the medicine to Mama Ayahuasca through the Colombian tradition of Yahe. And it's quite common that medicine is served in Costa Rica as well. And so this was going to be a retreat center that could host 4 medicine ceremonies. And it honestly kind of magically fell into my lap. It felt like full alignment with who I am and what I'm here to do, which is empower others to make the transformational shifts in their life that they allows them to grow and expand and evolve into even greater alignment with their higher selves. And it was an amazing opportunity. It was a beautiful property. We had a collective of 12 owners that all came together from various parts of the world to bring this vision to light. And in October of 2022, I found myself on Mama Bali for the first time. And the retreat center, Basundari, had posted in one of the retreat Facebook groups that I was in that retreat leaders could come and get a tour of the property if they were interested in hosting their retreat here in Bali. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I just landed here. This just popped up. Uh, I love being able to just follow the guidance and the little messages, like the little breadcrumbs from the universe. So I thought this will be an awesome research opportunity. Let me see how they are hosting retreat owners for a tour. I wasn't thinking about hosting retreat myself. It was all very new to me at that point in my career. So it was simply to do research, which was what my previous career was. As an experienced designer, I love going into an experience, immersing myself into experience because there's so many information points that I can gather and bring together. So I went to the property, and the second I stepped foot into the entrance of the property, which has this beautiful circle portal wrapped in luscious jungle plant life, beautiful purple, blue orchid flowers just dripping down. And I had this vision, like I have many times in my life, that holy shit, I'm hosting a retreat here. And it was one of those felt sense experiences that I have quite often because I am clairsentient, where it just, the truth and the knowing was there. There was no question in my mind. I mean, there could have been a lot of questions in my mind at that point, like, wait a minute, what? I'm hosting a retreat? Like, how am I going to find the people? What is, like, there could have been all of those questions. But in this moment, it's like time stood still. Nothing else existed except that one truth. I'm hosting a retreat here. And so I followed that. And oftentimes I do this as a 3-5 manifesting generator, also known as the Great Life Experimenter. The 3 line is the martyr that has this very fortunate path of exploring opportunities where they might not find full success in that moment, but it's a learning opportunity. So the opposite of what one might view as success would be failure. So basically, to say that the 3 line is very familiar with failure in order to find success. And so, as the 3-5 manifesting generator that I am, I just dove right in. And I didn't research any other retreat properties. I didn't need to. Like, that was the felt sense, that was the knowing, and I followed it. So fast forward to beginning of this year, had the wonderful opportunity to work with Dana, another beautiful soul here in our mastermind, with some coaching opportunities. A lot of beautiful ideas and support were provided by her and John, who was also providing coaching assistance at that time. And really had an opportunity to just step fully into things that I didn't want to be doing anymore, which was part of the old career that I was in, which had to do with creating the website, still feeling some resistance around Meta and leveraging that for business. But had, thanks to their encouragement, put together a website, a page that really fully embodied what it is that I envisioned for the retreat. And had an opportunity to put this in front of many, many people. And I'll just go ahead and fast forward to skip the mundane months. But come this summer, I had yet to sell a spot in the retreat. And I was kind of thinking, I felt so strongly that I was intended to host a retreat here. Perhaps there's an opportunity to shift what I'm envisioning that I'm creating. And through meditation and, divine connection, I felt very guided that there was going to be a powerful group of soul sisters, who possibly have yet to meet in this lifetime, but that have done this magic and this, this goddess magic, if you will, many times before, together. So for me, it felt like a soul sister reunion. And I could feel the energy of the women. I saw us all sitting in a circle, and I felt like our heart energies connecting and projecting out and also rippling out from that. And so I spent most of my summer, continuing to hold that vision. I felt very strongly that the people that are meant to be there would be there. I didn't need to force, I didn't need to worry. I could have gone down the path of advertising that didn't feel fully aligned with where I was at in my business and what I knew I could call in and create. I did reach out to a number of friends asking if they could share the opportunity. Um, and I knew, like, the people that are meant to be there will be there. I knew because I felt the energy connection with them so strongly. And so, fast forward to a couple weeks, 2 weeks before the retreat, still didn't have a single person that had committed to being there. I had a number of people that were previously verbally committing that then had, things, life come up. And so I still held the vision that there's still something here for me. And I had an opportunity to talk with one of my spiritual mentors, Sarah Landon, about this, because I was curious around the manifestation part. And I feel so strongly and connected in the way that I manifest, the way that works best for me, which is not the same design for everyone based on your human design, if we look at that. But for me, um, I feel so comfortable in voicing and talking about the manifestations that I desire as if I already have them. I practice it so often. But I was curious, like, how much of it would be more, supportive in this case for me to admit where I'm at. Well, it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing for me to do, to admit where I'm at if it's not where I want to be. And she provided some really amazing insight, but the thing that really stood out to me was actually her flipping a question back to me, which she does so brilliantly all the time when she interacts with the community. And she said, Maria, let me ask you something. She said, do you believe that you're worthy of spending the week at the retreat for yourself? And I said, well, first I laughed. But of course, like, absolutely was my response. Of course I'm worthy. I know I'm worthy of everything and the greatest of all. And I said, but that's not my desire. Like, I'd much rather share the space with other people. You know, it's a beautiful property, 11 rooms, three pools, a cold plunge, a sauna, you know, incredible chefs with the most amazing plant based meals, just wrapped in a lush jungle setting, serenaded by all the beautiful sounds of nature. Um, yeah, so yeah, I could have enjoyed it by myself, but that wouldn't have lit me up as much as it would to share it with other people. And at that point, you know, I had already released any thoughts around how much I've invested in this opportunity, and ideally, the investment is returning money. But that's not always the case. As an investor, I have a lot of experience where the exchange is in value is not always monetarily. And I think this is a really important point, actually, for people that are interested in investing or just in general, right? When you think about reciprocity or energy exchange in general, you know, when you when you invest, there are so many money stories. There's so many mind games that we've been programmed with, the should haves, the could haves, the would haves, that kind of thing. And in this case, you know, I knew there was still immense amount of value in the investment that I made that wasn't going to come back monetarily in the way that I thought it would, which would be through attendees at the retreat. And I caveat that in that way because I believe there will still be monetary return for me in hosting this retreat, even though I didn't make any money back in that week's time. Okay. And this is another key point, right? Because if I was to beat myself up over where I was, if I was to feel judgment, um, lack, um, you know, back to the opening quote that I provided and offered here today in the session. If I beat myself up over fear of like, oh, this isn't going to work, I would have shut myself off to so many opportunities because I would have been in a lower vibration. You know, fortunately for me, I have an opportunity to be in containers and spaces quite often with people that are very high vibration. And what I mean by that is not like higher or above people, but I mean there's a frequency, right? And so when you are in a group of people that are already vibrating at a high frequency, it's easier for you to also then vibrate at that frequency. So it's what I'm saying is it's harder for the lower frequencies to exist when you're in that state. So for me, I don't have the same pull into fear or judgment or criticism that I did say 5, 10 years ago when it was very much a part of my story and a part of my reality. Now I have the opportunity to witness when those things come up, acknowledge them, which are parts inside of me that are looking for more attention, reassurance, and love. And where this is heading basically is had I allowed myself to feel drowned and collapsed in those energies, I would not have had the opportunity that I ended up creating. And this is where it gets really good. So 2 weeks before the retreat, I am in one of the WhatsApp groups looking for housing opportunities. There's a Bali women's housing group where women are sharing, you know, their space that they're renting because they're maybe going traveling to another country, whatever the case. I had responded to one woman about a room that she was renting, and she just so happened to be online at the same time as me, which there's a very small window, and you're in Bali and someone's in America when those time zones overlap. And she said, well, would you want to jump on a video call to see the space? I said, sure, I have time. And so we got on a call. This is the only person that I'd really talked to like about a room, by the way. And so she shows me the space. We get to talking about, you know, why I'm coming to Bali. I let her know that I'm hosting, I had plans to host a retreat, but I hadn't sold any spots yet. And she was kind of, you know, surprised by that. She's like, so you have this space, but you're not doing anything with it? And I was like, well, I think there's still opportunity to do something. It just hasn't shown itself to me yet. She said, well, it's so interesting that you were connecting right now because I was meant to host a retreat that week, but things, life things didn't end up panning out. So I actually have space that week, and I've lived in Bali for 15 years. And so she has a ton of amazing connections with women who are also here on the island doing very similar work in their own, versions of magic. And she's like, I could put the word out to see if there'd be any interest. And immediately I lit up, right? So, as a manifesting generator, you are designed to follow what lights you up. And so, you're also, as my strategy, is to respond. So, there are times when I look back at this story and what manifested for me where I possibly was not in the state of following what lit me up at all times and possibly not responding or informing enough, because that's also part of the strategy. So when manifesting generator finds something that lights them up, they're supposed to follow that and inform others. And that is one thing that I recognize in many lessons learned with this experience, that um, I was being encouraged by many people and source, divine, whatever you want to call it, my higher self, to inform others of this opportunity. And I think there were times where I did allow myself to slip into lack and not allow myself to fully shine, which was a huge lesson that's come through very potently many times over in the last couple of weeks, months. The whole year has been the theme, if I'm honest. um, so, we ended up, once I arrived in Bali a week later, meeting up, getting together to talk about possible avenues. One was maybe we can, coordinate and launch this goddess type festival where we're inviting facilitators to come in to share their magic, to be able to stay at the property, and to invite other women on the island to come to these workshops and to learn more and to dive deeper into sisterhood, into connection, into empowerment, into transformation, all of the things that light me up. Another option was to simply invite the women that are here supporting other people. I feel so often that when we're in these roles of support, particularly as women, that we could benefit a lot from taking time to also receive support. So, how can we feel held ourselves? How can we give the space for ourselves to be in sisterhood, to allow ourselves to go through that transformation as well, rather than always supporting others? And a lot of people are doing it, but in their own ways, in their own time, and not necessarily in community. And for me, this is the one that really lit me up. The idea of a goddess festival, I think with more time and planning, could have been really fun and amazing. But where this really came, in terms of what we had the ability to create in a week's time, this is what I had been envisioning all summer, basically. And I'm going to pause real quick. Sounds like there's someone with a chainsaw outside, so hopefully y'all can't hear that too much. So yeah, basically we were chatting in the cafe. The topic of human design comes up. Gabriella, who's the beautiful goddess that is collaborating with me now on the retreat, was voicing that she was a 6-2 manifest, or I'm sorry, she's a 6-2 generator. And I was trying to recall what the sixth line was about. And that's when a woman at the table next to us chimed in. She said, I'm sorry to, oh, pop in here, but I couldn't help but overhear your discussion asking about human design. And I just so happen to be a human design coach, and I know that answer. And so we get to chatting with her, and she reminds me of, the strategy of to respond is very important for the manifesting generator. And she said, I tend to not try and overhear conversations, but this conversation was just ringing in my head so loudly that I felt like it was also for me. And she said, I hear you're planning some kind of retreat. And so I tell her the story, tell her how I had met Gabriella, how we're kind of jamming right now on possibilities. And she said, well, I'm actually really interested. Like, could I attend? Like, absolutely. I would love to have people join me for this week. And she said, well, I'm supposed to be hosting a women's circle in Canggu, which is a couple hours away from Ubud, on Wednesday. Perhaps maybe we could try and pull that together there. I said, great. That sounds like, perfect alignment. She said, I also have a friend that I'm meeting with after this who's a photographer. We just finished a retreat last week, and I know she's still looking for her next plans. I'd also been calling in a photographer. So I was like, great. All within a matter of an hour's time, we had a few different possibilities that we explored. We felt into the one that was right. We had an opportunity to respond thanks to Sun, who's the human design coach that came in with some input, and we manifested a photographer. So I went from having a retreat all to myself to having three other individuals also included for the week. So to me, this was a huge celebratory moment, and the rest of the way that this went was just phenomenal. I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of challenge. Anytime you're going to bring together people that have never met to collaborate in a short amount of time on something, there's going to be things that are revealed, especially when you're doing it under the full moon. I very specifically had planned this retreat to be the week of a full moon. It felt very important to me as was very connected to astrology and the opportunities that we have to ceremonially connect in ritual in the full and new moon times. And so Wednesday, we were able to bring in some people. We had a human design led session, thanks to Sun. Gabriella is beautifully connected to the magic of the womb, of our sensuality, of our sacral center, of our root chakra. And so she brought her program, Root to Rise, as amazing opportunity for us to connect into the wisdom of the root and what it is that we can embody from that opportunity in order to rise even greater. And then on Thursday, we had a day of rest as we integrated a lot of the challenges that we were feeling in the planning. And then we culminated in a full moon ceremony that night. We had some other soul sisters joining us from the island to bring in their magic. I had brought in, one second, I'm just going to pause. Okay, sorry about that. So the tree is cut down. Hopefully, I can wrap this up before the chainsaw starts again. So I brought from Mount Shasta, where I was at this weekend, I mean this summer, violet flame water here with me to Bali. I felt guided that I'm supposed to connect with the water priestess here on the island to gift the water, which holds very potent frequencies and light code information, and also had the opportunity to host a water activation and ceremony for the women that were in circle with us, in which I shared some of my light language and shared the water with some messages from the water about how incredibly amazing water is and all of the amazing things that water can do for us, which is another conversation for another time. Um, and this was right before a beautiful, amazing, incredible being named Izzy Ivy hosted her workshop. Izzy Ivy is the author of 5 different oracle decks, Beyond Lemuria being one of her most popular ones, one that I connected with very deeply over the summer, especially being in Mount Shasta, and one that I had amazingly connected with after our little jam session in the cafe. I had pulled 3 cards, one of which was the Violet Flame card in that deck. And when I looked at the bottom of the deck, the Mount Shasta card was there waiting for me to see this is an amazing alignment here. Also, Realm Bridger was another card that I had drawn, which I just felt like there's just so many synchronicities, so much amazing things and richness. Like I wish I could go into more detail about all the amazing things, but Izzy Ivy is very connected to light language as well. It's programmed into all of her artwork, and So to be able to offer the water, knowing that she also has such a strong connection to Mount Shasta and to light language, and to do this collaboration with her was just, um, honestly, I'm going to say one of the highlights of my year. I am so blown away at what can happen when you allow yourself to align with that which you desire, with your truth, with your power, and then release control and surrender into the way that the universe wants to orchestrate it. Like I said in the opening quote, it was so much better than I could have ever imagined for myself. And the great thing is, as a non-specific manifester, I don't need to know all the details. I can align with the vibration, with the feeling, with the knowing, and allow the orchestration to collaborate with me. And so we had, womb activations. We had from vision to reality, a powerful soul sister who's expert in marketing and business, do a workshop with us. We had another one with Sun in the human design realm, really learning about how human design works in collaboration with others has been a new exploration for me and the teachings that she brought through. And so we had just an incredible coming of going of really high vibrational, just amazing soul sisters, all of which I have no doubt I will continue to connect with after this event has finalized. And I just feel so much gratitude for the opportunity to align, to connect, the knowing that, um, you know, this came through very early on in my like understanding that I was meant to host a retreat here, that this was a beta test for something even greater. And I didn't exactly know what that meant at the time, other than I know a beta test, obviously is like a rough draft, if you will. Like, okay, let's see what this first iteration it looks, feels, and experiences like, and then how do we iterate from there? So uh, I'm just in a total state of awe in the lessons that came through, the opportunity to really um, allow myself to embrace the shadow side even more. I learned that as a leader, that themes of people pleasing aren't always conducive to the ways that you need to move things forward, and how important it is for me to at times assert my power as the leader that I am, not from a sense of ego or control, but from a sense of cohesion and alignment, which I very firmly feel strongly about within myself and the ability to hold. And I would say that above all, it was a beautiful lesson in what can happen when you do not stay attached to the outcomes and how you think things should be. So I appreciate y'all giving me the space and time to share this story with you. I know there's going to be a lot more that comes online for me in the coming days and weeks ahead. It's only been a day since I've been out of the container of the retreat, and you also have the opportunity to bring the inner child playground through dance. Finally got my DJ decks back out again. Yes, I brought them with me to Bali, so that was super fun. My inner child loves to play through sharing music with others and dance and connecting with the inner child. So I just feel totally lit up and so, so grateful and in awe. And I again thank you for the opportunity to let me share this with you. And the chainsaw is firing back up again, so I'm going to take that as my cue to close this out. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to connecting with y'all again. And one other thing I do want to add, it has come to my attention, thanks to the universe guiding me, that it is um, a calling that I did sit with through my emotional wave. As a manifesting generator, I'm supposed to wait to make decisions, but it felt very clear from the beginning that I am going into yoga teacher training starting November 1st. So I'm going to pause this mastermind for the month of November while I go deep from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day for 23 days into the yoga teacher training. I think this is an opportunity for me to really deepen my practice within myself and get myself into a habit and routine of movement that I have been craving. My body is speaking to me, telling me how much it desires that in a more regular and frequent basis. So, I do want to mention that I am going to pause the mastermind for the month of November while I realign myself and resettle back into my new life here on Bali. And so we will have the Inner Child Playground next Monday. And I'll also put that in the email. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you, hearing how the story landed for you. If there's any takeaways, love to have you share them. I love you and miss you all. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your week. Cheers.